Hello everyone, I'm Franzi and today I'm doing my 2014 book survey and I'm so excited because yearly wrap-up videos are my absolute favorite videos and I was waiting for the whole year to film new ones and I don't know, it's always so exciting. You have a whole year of reading to look back on and you see what you've accomplished and which books you loved. And when this video goes online, I hope it goes online on the right time. But I planned this for the 24th of December, and the 24th December in Germany is where we celebrate Christmas already. So Merry Christmas to you all, and I hope you have a really lovely time with your friends or your family. And yeah, Merry Christmas to everyone, and I hope you had a great year and just have great Christmas days. Question number 1 is the best book you read in 2014. Okay, right into it. I have two favorite books for 2014, and one is A Tree Grows in Brooklyn by Betty Smith, and the second one is Tell the Wolves I'm Home by Carol Rifka Brunt. And I talk about those two books so much, but they are by far my absolute favorites. Question number 2. Books you were excited about and thought you would love more, but you didn't. So I picked 4 books for this category. And the first one is quite recently the Retribution of Dyer, part 3 in the Dyer series, and I've waited the whole year for it to come out and I was so excited, but this book didn't live up to the hype. I mean, it's really fun and entertaining, but the ending was just meh. Next one is A Clash of Kings by George R.R. Martin. I read this one in January, I think, and after Game of Thrones I was really excited to read A Clash of Kings. But I noticed that I'm not such a big fan of this whole series, and so I was kind of disappointed in reading this one. I know a lot of you love it, but for me it was just a bit boring. And the next one is a Brandon Sanderson book, so I kind of feel bad talking about Brandon Sanderson in a bad way at all. But the second Mistborn book, The Well of Ascension, I had so high hopes for this because I think the first Mistborn book's still my favorite book of all Brandon Sanderson books. I don't know really, but yeah, The Well of Ascension was a lot more boring than I thought, and it should have been half the size. And the last one is The Corrections by Jonathan Franzen. I'm currently reading this. Actually, my book club meets today, but I haven't finished this book. I read it as hardcover version and I bought the audiobook because it was so boring, and then I just couldn't get through the audiobook. It's just, I listen and I listen and I listen, but I don't, there's nothing that stays there, and I'm just a little bit frustrated with this book. So I had really high hopes for The Corrections and I thought I would love it, but no. Question number 3, most surprising in a good way book of 2014. And for me this is Fangirl by Rowell, and we know a little bit more why in a later question. Number 4, book you read in 2014 that you would recommend to people most in 2014. For me they are always my favorite books, or most of the time. So A Tree Grows in Brooklyn by Betty Smith and Tell the Wolves I'm Home by Carol Rifka Brunt. The thing is that both of these books are not published in German, so I really can't recommend it to a lot of people, but I do recommend it to everyone else. And another book, or books, I always recommend for fantasy fans I meet everywhere is Brandon Sanderson books. So Brandon, yeah. I think Brandon Sanderson books might be the most recommended this year. Could be. Number 5, the best series you discovered in 2014. We just talked about Brandon Sanderson, so definitely the Stormlight archives. I've read The Way of Kings and Words of Radiance this year, and just great, great. Question number 6. Favorite new author you discovered in 2014. And for me this is Rowell. I've read all her books except Landline, which I only started and haven't finished, but I think I will get to it around Christmas, hopefully. So yeah, I love her writing and her characters, and it's just funny, great books. Question number 7. Best book that was out of your comfort zone or a new genre for you. And I have 2 books for this. The Hot Zone by Richard Preston. Virus non-fiction books. I've never read something like this before. It's a really great read. I've also did a review about this one. Yeah, by the way, all my reviews about the books I mentioned are in the info box, along with all the books I mentioned, as always. And the other genre I normally haven't read before is new adult. And my favorite book from that genre was Losing It by Cora Carmack and Loving Mr. Daniels by Brittainy C. Cherry. Question number 8. The most thrilling, unputdownable book in 2014. I am someone who I can always put down a book. I'm not that addicted to reading like other people are, which I sometimes find a bit sad because I think it's great when you have a book and you just can't stop reading. But I definitely had books where I had a lot of fun, where I rushed through, or books I read in a day. And so I picked 3 for this one. The first one is Words of Radiance by Sanderson. This is a 1000-page book and I read it in a few days. It's just so much fun. Like, it isn't really, but there's so much happening and so many great characters. And I just wanted to know what happened. And there are at least 2 other books I read in a day, which I can remember. And the first one is The Unbecoming of Dyer, the first one in the Dyer series. I rushed through this one. It was really addicting. And also the whole Across the Universe series by Beth Revis. I think I read those 3 books in 5 days or so. So I really rushed through them, and I normally don't read series books back to back, only if they really have a great cliffhanger and if I haven't already had enough of them. So that's quite rare, and although I think they are not the perfect sci-fi books, they're just really fun and enjoyable to read. And each of them is different enough and with a different topic or setting that it doesn't get boring. Question number 9. Books you read in 2014 that you're most likely to reread next year. And for me that's Tell the Wolves I'm Home by Rifka Brunt. No surprise, I just really, since I read it, I want to reread it. And I just wait until I forget a bit more about the storyline, but that's definitely one I would love to reread. Question number 10. Your favorite cover of a book you read in 2014. And I picked 3 for this again. The first one is Tell the Wolves I'm Home by Rifka Brunt. I just really like those illustrated covers. And the next one is The Unbecoming of Dyer. I really like those underwater pictures, and I think it's just a great concept for the whole series. And the last one is the UK edition for Landline by Rowell with the whole telephone. Great colors, great fun illustration, really like it. Question number 11, the most memorable character in 2014. And I picked 2 again, just can't decide. My first most memorable character is Franzen Nolan from A Tree Grows in Brooklyn. And I just find so much of herself in me, and I just love her to pieces. And the second one is Kaladin from the Stormlight archives, and he has a really huge role in the book series, and he's just so great. Question number 12, the most beautifully written book in 2014. And for me that's The Enchanted by Randy Danfeld, and also The Lover's Dictionary by David Levison. Both really greatly written and both quite short, so you could definitely read them fast. Question number 13, the book that had the greatest impact on you in 2014. And for me that's Tell the Wolves I'm Home by Rifka Brunt. It's about AIDS and people you love dying, and it's just very sad. Also about homosexuality and the stigma to that, and how people treat you differently when you're homosexual and you have AIDS. And it's just written in a very sincere way, and You can connect so much to the characters, so great book. Question number 14. Books you can't believe you waited until 2014 to read. For me, that's Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn, because I think since it came out, everyone was just raving about it. And also here on BookTube, Anna and the French Kiss by Stephanie Perkins. It seems to be the favorite book of so many of you. Both not my favorite books, but definitely fun to read. Question number 15. Your favorite passage or quote from a book you read. So I guess my favorite passage is from Tell the Wolves I'm Home, but it doesn't really make sense to anyone who hasn't read the book before. So I picked a few and I will tell them to you, and if it's boring then just jump this passage. The first one is from Me and Earl and the Dying Girl by Jessie Andrews. And Earl is visiting a girlfriend of his, and they're both teenagers, and it's the first time that he visits her room, and it's just I had to laugh so hard when I first read this, and it's probably not funny, but here we go. I can sum up Rachel's bedroom in 2 words. Pillows, posters. Her bed had at least 15 pillows on it, and the walls were 100% posters and magazine cutouts. There was a lot of Hugh Jackman and Daniel Craig, especially without their shirts. If you were to show me this room and made me guess who lived in it, my answer would be a 15-headed alien who stalks male human celebrities. The 15-headed alien cracked me up. Then I have one that I really like. It's from The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman. I'm going to tell you something important. Grown-ups don't look like grown-ups on the inside either. Outside they are big and thoughtless and they always know what they are doing. Inside they look just like they always have. Like they did when they were your age. The truth is, there aren't any grown-ups. Not one in the whole wide world. I think that's so true. If you get older, you notice that you actually don't really get older. It's just your body. And then I have 2 quotes from The Enchanted by Renée Danfeld, because I love the writing so much. Their footsteps sound like the soft hush of rain over stone floors. They have been talking low and soft, their voices sliding like river currents that stops outside my cell. When I hear them talk, I think of rain and water and crystal clear rivers. And when I hear them pause, it's like the cascade of water over falls. And the second one, there are prisons inside prisons, walls inside walls. And in this place you learn that your worst dungeon might be the room with the most windows. You can step behind one wall and then another here, like a child lost in a maze, and be lost forever. So yeah, those are my quotes. It's better when you read them. Question number 16. The longest and shortest book you have read in 2014. And I didn't count novellas, so my shortest book is The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman with 181 pages, and my longest book is The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson with 1258 pages. Question number 17. A book that had a scene in it that had you reeling and dying to talk to somebody about it. For me it is For A Tree Grows in Brooklyn. There's quite at the beginning a page or 2 where she describes an old man and he looks really fucked up, and she thinks about how he was once a child and then maybe a loving husband and had kids, and how he now is alone and refusing to die maybe, or I don't know, but it was really beautifully written and I loved the thought behind it so much. Also the ending of Tell the Wolves I'm Home. Oh, so sad. And the whole Stormlight archives, we had a buddy read for both books, and it's just every time something happens I'm like, oh my god, I have to talk to somebody about it, because there was so much going on and it was so exciting. Question number 18. Your favorite relationship from a book you read in 2014. Doesn't have to be romantic, friendship, parents, everything. I have so many again. so I will try to only give you 3. The first one is Finn and June in Tell the Wolves I'm Home. I'm so sick of repeating this book title all the time, but it's just a great book. So June is a teenager and Finn is her uncle, and they have just a really cute relationship, and that's one of my favorites this year. The other one is from A Tree Grows in Brooklyn, Franzen Nolan and her father Johnny Nolan. Just beyond cute and so sad sometimes, but they just love each other. And for the third one I don't want to pick relationships, it's so normal, so boring. So for the third one I pick For The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman. I totally forgot their names, but the neighbor's family, where our main protagonist spends his childhood. There are 3 women, 3 generations. So there's a kid or teenager and middle-aged woman and an old woman, and they're just so great and magical, and I just loved reading about them. Question number 19 is favorite book from an author you read previously, and for me that's definitely Brandon Sanderson. And my favorite book I read of him this year was Words of Radiance, Part 2 in the Stormlight Archives. Question number 20 is best book you read in 2014, based solely on a recommendation from somebody else. And I think I really pick most books because I want to read them and not because on somebody else's recommendations. I mean, it has to be both. But my favorite book this year that I would have never read without a recommendation is Fangirl by Rowell. I said that in my review I did for Fangirl. It's just the title and the description and everything just screamed, I don't want to read this for me. But I did, and I'm glad I did. I didn't like Simon Snow, but I like the normal characters a whole lot, and it's just a great book, especially when you're younger. 21. Genre you read the most from in 2014. So I counted, and I read 11 sci-fi books and 11 fantasy books. They both have adult and YA in it, and I also read 10 contemporaries. Question number 23. The best 2014 debut novel you read. And that is The Enchanted by Rennie Danfeld. I don't think I've read many debut novels that were published this year, so this is one I found that is supposed to be a debut. Question number 24. The most vivid world in 2014. And for me that was The Stormlight Archives by Brandon Sanderson again. It's just a really fantastic fantasy series, and there are also interludes in it which describe different parts of the world. So not only do you learn about the real storyline that takes place in the book, but you learn about a lot of different people, cultures, countries, I don't know, but it's just really interesting, and there's so much fantasy in it, like fantasy in creativity. Great book if you love world building. 2 questions left. Question number 25. The book that was the most fun to read in 2014, and I really couldn't decide because I don't have one like Ready Player One. That would be an easy choice, but I haven't read so many super fun books, I would say. So I picked 3, and one is A Million Suns by Beth Revis. That is the second book in the Across the Universe series. It has a kind of treasure hunt plot, so the protagonist going from clue to clue to clue, and I always really enjoy those books and they keep me reading through the night. The next one is Losing It by Cora Carmack, which is just stupidly funny in the beginning, but then you get attached to the characters and you just want to know what happens to them. So I had to read this through the night also. And the last one is Time Between Us by Tamara Ireland Stone, and I haven't really mentioned it much in this survey, but it was also one of my favorites this year. And I really like the characters, and it has a time travel plot and lots of Pearl Jam references, and what's not to love? So this book was fun as hell as well. And the last question finally is question number 26. The book that made you cry the most in 2014. And for me that was Tell the Wolves I'm Home by Rifka Brunt. Oh, come on, it had to be. So I'm really crying a lot while reading, and this book just had me sobbing, and it was just horrible, but a great horrible. Thank you very much, everyone, and we will see each other at least around New Year's Eve for the definite favorite 14 novels of 2014. So see you soon, guys, and Merry Christmas.